In this installment, we'll be going back to the roots of UFC. This is where I kind of started a year ago, probably like a year and a half, where I was really deep diving into UFC. And I'm going to bring you all the picks. We're going over the full card of UFC 271. Israel Adesanya going up against Robert Whittaker. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Chef D, and I'm here to give you the winning ingredients for your UFC 271 full card breakdown between Adesanya and Whittaker 2, giving you my full analysis on each and every fight and giving you the bets, okay? Giving you a little bit of parlays as well. I'll give you some ideas on that, maybe even specific finishes. If you just listen, then you'll see which way I am leaning in each one of these fights. I went through the tape on all these fights, and I think I got a good grasp on this card, and we'll see how we'll do. All right. Now, before we deep dive into that, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MetsNetsJetsD. All right. And if you are a viewer and not currently a subscriber, go ahead and click that subscribe button right now. Currently at 759. The goal is 1K. 1K will be the cash giveaway. That 1,000th subscriber will be the lucky person, because it can be a girl and it can be a guy. All right. No sexism here. So let's get into it. Now, as you see, beautiful art they got for this card. And we're going to start all the way at the bottom. 14 bounce in this one. It was 15. There was a weight miss between Alex Perez and Matt Schnell. That got taken off. So there's now 14 fights. We're going to be starting off with William Knight going up against Maxime Grisham. And when I went through the tape here, Grisham, a veteran, as you can see, 31-9. Nothing really impressive. He has a solid jab and leg kicks. That's really what he brings to the table. He has a height advantage at 6'3". Going up against William Knight, who's a tank but shorter at 5'10". I think the aggression of William Knight, the power that he provides, he has a ground game as well. He's been working on that. After his, what was it? His third loss, well, his third fight, and he had lost to, let's see, let's check down here. If we go into it, he lost to Daun Jung. After that, he's kind of bounced back, knocked out Fabio Charant, who's on this card, took decision to Alonzo Minifield, which is impressive because how big of a size he is. He's been really working on his grappling. They had a grappling match against Daniel Mola and has another grappling match coming up next week as well. So he's working on that, trying to be well-rounded. I'm leaning more towards him in this fight. He is currently the underdog in this one, leading off the card. If we're just going to the bets, let's go to the UFC section right here. And we're looking at William Knight at plus 145. If he's winning, I think it's going to be by knockout. Maxim Grisham does have a questionable chin, and he's had a very poor last run of these couple fights, if we're looking at that as well. So let me give you a glimpse at Maxime Grisham right here. And it's kind of ugly. It's really ugly. Nothing impressive that I've seen of him, despite the fact that he has a crazy, crazy record. And he's older at 37. A draw against Jordan Johnson, that's in PFL. Marcin Tybura, a loss. And this Antigula fight, he literally quit in the second round. And then another loss at Dustin Jacoby, which he was kind of winning in the first, but still got knocked down twice. It was ugly. There's nothing impressive from Maxime Grisham, and I'm leaning towards William Knight in this contest. Let's move on to the second bout. We have Jeremiah Wells going up against Blood Diamond. This is Israel Adesanya's boy that has jumped into this card. There's two of Israel Adesanya's boy. You got Blood Diamond and you got Carlos Oberg, who we've seen already. Blood Diamond is a lot of kickboxing footage. He doesn't really have a resume when it comes to the MMA. So we're not sure about his takedown defense going up against Jeremiah Wells, who's going to be very bullish and attack immediately. He comes with 100% aggression at the beginning of a fight, and that's going to be very questionable. But Blood Diamond is very dangerous with his kick boxing background, throws kicks at weird angles when you least expect it after punches. So that's something to look forward to. But I don't think it's Jeremiah Wells' benefit to keep this at distance. He's going to close in and really try to smother Blood Diamond in this scenario. So as you can see, he had a fight against Dimps Gillies and took that to decision. That was in 2020. Other than that, a kickboxing match. And then his last MMA actual fight was in 2018. So this is a very green type of talent. I can understand Israel Adesanya talking him up, but there's nothing that can solidify us really choosing Blood Diamond but the fact that he's an underdog. If I'm looking at Jeremiah Wells, I see talent on both sides. He has hands and he has the grappling ability. He has jiu-jitsu in his back pocket. I'm going with Jeremiah Wells in this scenario, fading all the public love of Israel Adesanya's boy. Give me Jeremiah Wells at minus 240. Let's continue going on. We're going to go with the third fight, Sergey Marazov going up against Silva de Andraj. And this is a veteran here, Douglas Silva de Andraj. And he's had a very up and down ending towards his career. He's currently 36 years old. Sergey is on the up and up and really improving since he's came into the UFC. Had a loss to Umar Nurmagomedov, and we understand how good Nurmagomedov is. Currently 12-0, and that's understandable. That was a very hard first fight, but in his second fight, we saw what he brings to the table against Khalid Taha in that decision. Really worked his offense to get to his grappling and was relentless. So this Kazakhstan, similar to Shakrat Ramanov, he's going to get to the grappling. Very dual-sided here. He has the hands. He has the wrestling as well advantage. I'm going with the favorite here, Sergey Marazov. Andrade is older and has a very questionable chin. He does very similar patterns with the in and out 1-2 punch that he does provide, but I don't see any benefit with his grappling going against Sergey Marazov's grappling. There's a clear advantage on the Marazov side of that, and that's why he is minus 210. I definitely like him in this fight. Let's go next to AJ Dobson against Jacob Malkoun, and in this fight, you have AJ Dobson, who's similar to Jeremiah Wells, who shoots out of a cannon in the beginning of fights. And that's going to be the real question mark here. You got Jacob Malkoun, who is Robert Whittaker's boy in this particular fight. And then you have a loose cannon in AJ Dobson in this one. Only 6 professional fights for both guys total. This is the second fight technically for AJ Dobson. Got a submission rear naked choke against. I'm not even going to try to say his last name. That is absolutely ridiculous. But I did watch this fight. Hashem. He got blitzed. Just to be 100% correct with you guys, Jacob Malkoun, if he's able to withstand the initial flurry of AJ Dobson, he can corral him. And what he did in his second fight against Abdul Razak Al Hassan, who's another big body power puncher, he really was able to take his wrestling to and really nullify Abdul's power, really work him and tire him out, and just took him down in each and every round. This is the grappling coach for Robert Whittaker, so I expect him to get that game plan. In his first fight in the UFC against Phil Hawes, he got knocked out. I don't know why he tried to do standing with Phil Hawes, who does have nice knockout power, but he got back to his bread and butter in this second fight, so I think he's going to continue with that type of success. And I'm going with Jacob Malkoun in this fight, and really nullifying the aggression of AJ Dobson. Like I said, if he gets past that initial flurry, he should be fine. Let's continue going down, and we have Ronnie Lawrence going up against Mana Martinez. Now, Mana Martinez, confident striker, doesn't really have a ground game. Ronnie Lawrence, on the other hand, does. I see a two-sided affair right there. He can work him on the feet and also take him down. He's averaging 10 takedowns every 15 minutes. You could check this on UFC stats yourself. When I looked that up, I was like, wow. He has 100% takedown defense as well. Manny Martinez is around at 50 to 40% on the takedown defense. So Ronnie Lawrence is going to be aggressive, work towards his advantage at taking down Manny Martinez, and really grind on him. And I see Ronnie Lawrence, who's a very highly touted prospect in this bantamweight division, utilize his grappling, get Manny Martinez, get him uncomfortable, and get him on the ground and really work him out, tire him out, and could get a finish in this if he gets a rear naked choke or pulls any other type of submission on Manny Martinez. So in this fifth fight, I love Ronnie Lawrence in this one. Okay, let's continue to go on. And this one is one of the biggest question marks right here. Carlos Ulberg against Fabio Cherant. This, like I said, is Israel Adesanya's boy. Getting a second opportunity after a failure in that fight against Kennedy Njoku, where he really put out his whole gas tank in that first and second round. Kennedy Njoku weathered that storm and chipped him up with the jab and really two-pieced him and put Carlos Ulberg down because he was absolutely tired in that one. Will we see better cardio from Carlos Ulberg in this one? And on the other side, we have Fabio Cherant, who has been absolutely horrible in his first two fights in the UFC. Lost to Alonzo Menifield in a Vlan flu choke, which was embarrassing. He kind of, I don't want to even describe that. That was really ugly. Against Alonzo Menifield. And then he lost to William Knight as well on a check left hook straight to the chin. Fabio Cherant went all the way down, and that's very shocking from him, who was an LFA champion. All right, Fabio Cherant does have skill. He was a champion before he came into the UFC and really like wet the bed in his first two fights. And then you have this pretty boy over here in Carlos Ulberg, who was really supposed to be a model, but then decided, hey, let me use my athleticism towards kickboxing and MMA. He had a nice first win in the Contender Series, showed a nice arsenal of attacks. He does have that in his tool bag. But the question is his cardio and will Fabio Cherant work his ground game? Okay. He does have some nice performances in LFA, Fabio Cherant. This can be something you can avoid. I don't like the fact that he's a minus 260 favorite. After what I've seen, the tape of Carlos Ulberg, he should not be a minus 260 favorite. So I would avoid this fight. And if anything, I would take the underdog. I cannot trust Carlos Ulberg after what I've seen and the effort that he put through in that Kennedy Njoku fight. And someone who does have some prospect here in Fabio Cherant. He's on his last leg. If he loses this fight, he's going to be out of the UFC. So this is going to be a lot of pressure on Fabio Cherant. He has to show up and show the reason why he was picked to be in the UFC in the first place. So we're going to avoid this fight. And if I had to choose, I would lean to Fabio Cherant because I cannot trust Carlos Ulberg. So we're going to leave that one off. Let's continue on. We have Kyler Phillips, who's Sean O'Malley's boy, going up against Marcelo Rojo. Um, Tough fighter. Marcelo Rojo, tough fighter, but we got a big favorite here in Kyler Phillips at minus, 450 now. And he really got robbed. If you want to be 100% honest, Kyler Phillips got 100% robbed in that fight against Raulian Paiva. That should not have been a majority decision to Paiva. And obviously, Sean O'Malley made up for that loss when he knocked out Raulian Paiva a couple months ago. So Marcelo Rojo comes in. What is he? He's 0-1 in the UFC. Got torched by Charles Jourdain. Put up a solid fight in the first two rounds, but Jourdain really put it on him in that third round. You saw the questionable gas tank from Marcelo Rojo and going through that fight, leading all the way to that third round. Kyler Phillips really knocked out Paiva, finished him in that first round, but the referees did not call it. He was still tough in the second round, and I feel like he pulled through in that third with a very tough effort, but for some reason the card was not in his favor. So I'm definitely going with the favorite in this one with Kyler Phillips. Clear offensive advantage on the Phillips side. I like his arsenal in attacks as well. We're gonna skip the women's fight. I don't I don't like betting women's fights, especially after that Nunes. I don't like betting women's fights. And in this one, you have a veteran, Roxanne Modafferi, who's a huge underdog. She's a big veteran. Done. Um, she's one of the pioneers of the women's division. Anyway, okay, this is her last fight, her swan song. Will she go out with a win? Will she go out with a loss? That is the question. Casey O'Neill is minus 450. I do not trust any woman unless it's Shevchenko at this high of a number. All right, I would 100% avoid a women's fight, especially in this case when you got someone who's a veteran and knows how to weather storms and is really understanding of taking advantage of a young woman fighter in Casey O'Neill. So we're gonna fully fade this fight. If I had to lean, I guess go with the. If you had to choose something in this women's fight, take the over. Okay, there's probably not going to be a finish. It's going to go over 2.5 rounds and probably be a decision. Okay, if I had to choose. Next, we have one veteran here, Andrei Arlovski going up against Jared Vanderaa. This one is another ugly fight. You don't have to bet this one. Arlovski has been solid. He's going to stay on the outside, work his boxing to an advantage here. He defeated Carlos Felipe in a decision. He defeated Chase Sherman in a decision. As long as he stays active, if he doesn't fear his opponent and his opponent is like overpowering or has another level of strength, like if this was Derrick Lewis, this would be a clean knockout. All right, this is Jared Vanderaa, who's very, very sketchy. He lost to Sergey Spivak. He lost to Alexander Romanov, who took him down and really bashed his face in. That was a horrible performance. Beat Justin Tafa in the decision, which was an ugly win there. There's nothing that leads me to taking Vanderaa over Andrei Arlovski. If anything, as long as it stays on the feet, I would lean to Arlovski's side of this. So I would lean Arlovski, but I'm definitely not betting this one. I do not trust these two. You got a 43-year-old fighter and someone that is actually horrible in MMA. He has a 12-6 record. It is not. They just put it on the card just because. Yeah, there's some name value in Andrei Arlovski. All right, that's why it's a prelim. All right, we're gonna move over to the main card, and that's Nasrat Haqparast against Bobby Green. This one is a nice fight here. You got Kelvin Gastelum Jr. Nasrat Haqparast has been having a tough time the past couple fights. Had a loss to Drew Dober, beat Alex Munoz, Rafa Garcia, and had a loss to Dan Hooker. Very up and down here. And on the Bobby Green side, another tough run for him as well. He's better than this, okay? He really is. He has a lot of talent and a lot of ability. Thiago Moses was a tough decision there. Rafael Fiziev, he had a strong finish in that third round. It really could have went his way, but Fiziev, I think it was the total damage on his attacks were just way higher than Bobby Green's. In that one, he kind of fought tough in that third round, but the first 2 rounds were really leaning to the Fiziev side in that one. And then you have Ally Quinta, a very nice knockout in that one. If this stays on the feet, I'm going to go with Bobby Green, who has that nice shoulder roll. Defense, and he has the boxing advantage, does have a nice ground game as well. Nasrat he's well rounded as well, but there's a clear advantage if this stays on the feet with Bobby Green. And if it even goes to the ground, Bobby Green has a wrestling advantage as well. I think this is another level rising here. Bobby Green should be top 15, to be 100% honest with you. He's had a little bit of unfortunate events, and Nasrat Haqparast still is going to have to work on his game. I'm leaning with the favorite here in Bobby Green. So we'll get back to this parlay. We're going Bobby Green in that one. And let's move on to our next bout. Okay. And that next bout will be between Renato Moicano going up against Alexander Hernandez. Okay. This one should be fun, to be 100% honest with you. We have Moicano as a minus 165. He's had a tough run moving in weight classes, losing to Korean Zombie, Jose Aldo, And even Rafael Fiziev. That one was a clear knockout, and that one beat Jai Herbert with a submission rear naked choke, and that's his type of game. He wants to get this fight on the ground. Alexander Hernandez the Great has a ton of upside. Is very nice on his feet, but he was unlucky against Drew Dober and unlucky against Thiago Moises. They just overpowered him on the feet, especially um, in that Thiago Moises bout. He really wore him out when it got to the later rounds. Alexander, great, is well rounded, but Renato Moicano is next level. He should be, and he should be rightfully so, this minus 165 favorite currently. I'm leaning towards him in this fight. It could go either way, but I think there was improvements in his stand up in Moicano when he went against Herbert, when he went against Fiziev before he got knocked out. There were some exchanges where you see, okay, Moicano has been improving with his stand-up ability, even though his bread and butter is taking it to the ground and trying to get a submission, okay, using that Brazilian jiu-jitsu on his side. So I'm leaning towards Moicano, the favorite in this one, going up against Alexander Gray, who's let the ball drop on a couple occasions. I didn't like the fight against Drew Dober where he really got wore out, and that fight against Thiago Moises. Okay, so we're going to go with the favorite there, and we're going to add that in our bet slip. We're going to continue going down with our next fight, and that will be the last three fights in this main card. Got Jared Cannonier going up against Derrick Brunson. This is another flip of the coin here, okay? We have the strength and power of Jared Cannonier. Total tank, very solid on the feet. And that's really pretty much his takedown defense. All right, his explosivity, his reaction time, to really stop, to really sprawl and stop takedowns. It's decent, but Derrick Brunson has been using this formula for the last couple fights on his way to working his way to the top of this title fight here. You got Ian Heinisch, who he beat in the decision, knocked out Shabazian. Kevin Holland finished him, and Darren Till. Okay, as long as Derrick Brunson is able to get this fight to the ground, he should be able to win. If this fight stays on the feet, then Jared Cannonier should put his power and force on Derrick Brunson. It's really key on who's going to win that battle. Is Jared Cannonier going to be able to withstand his takedowns for 3 rounds straight? Because Derrick Brunson is going to grind and be relentless on Jared Cannonier. We're gonna see a real question mark on cardio in this fight, even though it's been solid throughout his career with Jared Cannonier. I don't know if he's seen a fighter where how Derrick Brunson is, that's been relentless. Okay, he's been keen on taking his opponent down to the ground in each and every fight. He was able to put a hurt on Jack Hermantis, who's more of a grappler, in that fight. TKO, so that's the probability. If he could pull a Derek Lewis where he knocked out Curtis Blades coming in on a takedown, if that scenario happens, then Cannonier can get the win. Derek Brunson's going to have to be a little bit more creative of trying to taking down Cannonier because he leaves himself exposed when he goes in for a takedown, leaving his head up. Those are big problems, okay? You're leaving a target. So this fight, um, is a total coin toss. I might lean towards Derrick Brunson, the wrestler, because that usually wins out on these scorecards. Okay, unless the other fighter is putting out significant damage with his hands, when they look at control time and takedowns, that really leans towards the wrestler when it comes to the scorecards. Okay, so we got to be very vigilant of that. If I'm leaning one way, then I would go with the underdog here in Derrick Brunson. And now we're leaning on to the last two fights. Let me take a quick sip of water before we continue. And we're going in Derrick Lewis going up against Tai Tuivasa. I don't understand this. This one is obvious to me. If we're really being 100%, they're really like downplaying Derrick Lewis, who's like number 3 ranked in the heavyweight division. This doesn't make sense. Tuivasa is 11th ranked, and you're going up against the Black Beast, the knockout king of UFC. His resume is absolutely insane, okay? Alexei Olenek, Curtis Blades, he beat Ngannou. And he really was like an underdog against Chris Dauskas, who's a bottom tier heavyweight, and now they're putting him in the same situation against Tai Tuivasa. Yes, he's a favorite in this one, but he should be a bigger favorite. This is a clear cut disadvantage. Tai Tuivasa has some appeal with him with the shoeies and all his engagement on the internet, but if we're talking about slanging and banging here and who's gonna knock whoever out, Derrick Lewis is that guy. Derrick Lewis is 100% that guy. Give me him at minus 190. I don't need to really break that down. I, you're getting value on Derrick Lewis, to be 100% honest with you. So we're going with him in that fight. And then last but not least, we have Israel Adesanya going up against Robert Whittaker. This one is going to be a good one. The style bender here in Israel Adesanya had a little rough patch against Jan Blachowicz. That was a big weight disadvantage there in 30 pounds. Maybe Whittaker's seen something in that fight where he can take advantage in this one. He wasn't himself in the first initial fight against Israel Adesanya, blitzing him, leaving himself open to counters, and that's why he got knocked down twice in that fight. Maybe we see a little more patience in this one, so I would lean more towards the over in this fight. Probably a decision to come in this fight. I don't see a knockout happening. I see point scoring Israel Adesanya working those leg kicks, working those counters as well, staying at distance. Whittaker being patient, um, trying to take him down, but being really, really creative at that. He cannot be obvious and try to just blitz Israel Adesanya because that's when he'll see it coming. And then he'll definitely have a counter for Robert Whittaker. He's going to have to mix things up. Whittaker's going to have to be his 100% self in this fight if he thinks he's going to prevail. And this one, I think Israel Adesanya is just too much. I get it. Whittaker has improved. He still has the nice 1-2 and that high leg kick to finish guys off. A lot of other guys can't see that coming. Israel Adesanya is a little bit different on the playing field. This could be one of the GOATs in Israel Adesanya. And I get it. Minus 280 is kind of high. There it should be a little bit more of a closer fight. But I think Israel Adesanya still pulls through and continues and holds that title. Okay, so we're going with Derrick Lewis, and then we're going. It's even worse now. It's minus 300 for Israel Adesanya. If you want some value on that, then 100% take the over in this fight. I think this fight goes to the decision. There's some better odds on that as well. But that will be our breakdown of the UFC 271 card. I'll give you a little run over of the guys that I like right here on the side. I got 10 solid bets here. If we put all that together, you got plus 17,000. Imagine if all that hits. I'm definitely going to throw a little $5 on that just in case that hits. If you want to be a little diverse, you can split it in half. All right, split it in half with the prelim and then have one side with the main card. And then you have kind of things covered. If things mess up in that prelim card, then you still are alive for the main card. This is just a little bit of strategy for you guys. I definitely like William Knight, Jeremiah Wells, Sergey Marazov. I really, really love Jacob Malkoun. I lean. Ronnie Lawrence, he should be fine. Bobby Green. I like Renato Moicano, Derrick Brunson, Derrick Lewis, and Israel Adesanya. Okay, those are going to be our plays for today for this UFC pay-per-view card that we got going on. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MessNHSD, and I'll be back with another video very soon. Peace out, guys.